Hi, I'm Karen MacNeil, and this is WineSpeed.com's People to Know, insider interviews with the most important and fascinating people in the wine business. And today we're at the grand historic Inglenook estate, right in the heart of the Napa Valley, with Philippe Bascaules, who is the Director of Winemaking. So, Philippe, in 2011, you temporarily left your position as the estate director at Château Margaux, of course, one of the great First Growths of Bordeaux, to become the Director of Winemaking here at Inglenook. What was it about Inglenook that motivated you to move from Bordeaux?
I didn't know anything about Inglenook before, and so when I was contacted, I was curious. So I really came just to know what it was about, and so I came 3 days. It was in summer 11, or yeah, a little bit before, and then I think first thing I met Francis Coppola, of course, and so I was very surprised and also pleased that he had a very clear vision for the wine of Inglenook. And the second thing is that we tasted Inglenook 59. That was,
well, that could do it.
Yeah, that was really a very good wine, and so tasting the wine, I knew that the vision was realistic. You know, because if you have a vision that is not realistic, of course, it doesn't work. So after the tasting, and I decided that yes, it was a very exciting project for me.
Yeah. What was your impression at that time, since you didn't know Napa Valley really very well at all? Did you have a preconceived notion about it?
No, about the valley itself. About the wines of California, yes. I have to say that, of course, when you work for 20 years in Bordeaux, you consider that the wines you make are the best of the world, you know, because it's you're in wine business. I think what is very interesting and also difficult is that you don't have any tool to measure the quality of a wine. It's just your palate, and so what you are used to drink is, of course, the best.
Yes.
You know, it's your reference. And so it was very difficult for me to appreciate different wines, I would say. And so then when I came, I think it was also the culture was different.
Yes.
Yeah, and so a good wine for a Californian winemaker is not necessarily a good wine for me. Yes, of course. And I realized very quickly that the quality is very subjective, of course. And then we can have different visions for the same place.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so yes, I came here, I accepted because the vision of Francis also was part of my vision of the quality of the wine.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, Inglenook, is of course such a tremendously historic estate, founded in the 1870s, I believe, by Gustav Niebaum.
Yes.
And then, of course, John Daniel, who was so instrumental in the Napa Valley in the 40s and 50s, and now owned, as you point out, by film director Francis Ford Coppola. When you tasted those wines, when you came, what improvement did you think you could contribute? What was the next step in their evolution that you could see in your mind?
Yeah, I would not say improvements, really. I think it was changes. You know, because again, depending on what you have in mind, I'm sure that the changes we have made have disappointed some people. You know? So we just changed a little bit the direction, but not necessarily better. You know? Yeah. So, but what we mainly, I try to do is just to avoid decisions that make the wine the same, and especially the late picking. Just to take one example, I think picking late is not the solution. Sometimes you have to pick late because the grape is not ripe,
right.
But it's not the solution forever. I think the problem is before. So if you pick late, means that you have to change something in the vineyard to be able to pick on time. And so, because if you pick late, then you have the flavors of the late picking,
which is
very heavy flavors, very intense, but you have a high level of sugar, of course, because you have dehydration as well when you pick late, low acidity. And so you make a certain type of wine that can be good and you can like it, of course, but it's not, for me, it's not an expression of the place. And so everyone makes the same wine. And so it's really the first thing I wanted to do was that, to pick earlier. And I saw in 11 that it wasn't easy to pick earlier. So we have to change the vineyard in a way that, yes, the grapes can ripe easily.
So is it fair to say then that your steps toward change were really a change more both in the direction of Bordeaux, but also in the in the direction of old California?
Yes, probably yes. You know, of course, I cannot say that it's not Bordeaux because I was educated in Bordeaux, in Montpellier, in France, and with Château Margaux for 20 years. So of course, my education is Bordeaux. At the same time, I have the feeling that it's also just to get an expression of the place, and so eliminating the extremes, because if you pick too late is bad, but to pick too early is also bad, because in this case you have just the pyrazine and the vegetal aromas of Cabernet Sauvignon, and so again everyone makes the same wine. So I think it's for the wine, but for the winemaking as well, is a question of balance all the time, to put limits. And we don't want to be overripe or to pick late. We don't want to pick too early. But in between, we can do many things. And depending on the vintage, depending on the team. And I like also to let the vintage or the place or other people decide. I don't like to be too precise in the decisions, because inside the limits, you never know what is the best decision.
Yes.
So I think it's good to, not to sometimes not to decide.
Right.
And so another example is the temperature of fermentation. We put limits: low temperature, high temperature. In between, I don't like to all the time, to adjust the temperature to be exactly at what is supposed to be the best. No, I like also that each tank can decide the temperature of fermentation. I think it's part of the diversity. I think it's important to create diversity in a winery, because then after, when you decide to blend, you have different wines.
Right.
So really you can create something different that is a blend. If all the wines are the same, the blend is not, you can blend, but it doesn't change anything, and it's not interesting.
Now, in 2017, 2 years ago, you went back and became the managing director, I believe, of Château Margaux on the unfortunate death of Paul Pontallier, who had been the managing director for many decades. And so now you go back and forth between Napa Valley and Bordeaux. That must be hard. Is it hard to run two very historic, prestigious estates?
No, because it's not, my position at Inglenook now is more technical and less general as it was before. So, and it's, when you like it, it's not hard. It's really, I enjoy a lot coming back here and seeing the evolution of the wines, and also, of course, continue working with people here. So I was very happy to spend more than 5 years, and I'm of course very lucky to be able to work at Château Margaux, and so it's a few weeks per year. I came usually 5 or 6 times, spending a week, but no, it's a real pleasure to be here.
I want to go back to this idea, which is fascinating, that every tank might, in a sense, make itself a bit in order for you then to have a rainbow of colors with which to work.
Yes.
Is that? It strikes me that is almost an artistic way of approaching wine. That if you were doing it purely by science, you would decide that this number, this temperature is what you want it to be. You're going to make all those tanks uniform. But this is a little bit more risky and perhaps I don't know, you now have to use your intuition when you blend. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I disagree because to me it's not artistic. I don't think so. I think it's not because you don't have the knowledge that it becomes artistic immediately. I think it's no. I think we have to use our empirism, our experience, and humility as well. Just that we have to recognize that we don't know many things, and so in this case, what to do? And so my answer is not to decide. It's just to put limits.
Yeah.
You know, I really know what I don't want, but I don't know what I want. I think it's so it's very easy to me to eliminate things, but not to choose. And so I don't know. I don't think it's artistic. I don't think so. I think it's also a lot of work. It's also an expression of the nature. I think, you know, the artist is maybe also the place, but it's the interaction between the nature, the place, and human beings. I think probably we are more powerful. In this case, we are more powerful, important than the nature itself. I think the vision we have is so important. It's more important because then we have the capacity to change the nature to fit it with a vision. Sometimes we can't, and so of course we have to change the vision. But when it works, I think it's this vision will impact everything after that. So it's a reason that when we want to realize the vision of the owner, then it's a lot of work and using experience. But I don't think it's artistic.
All right, fair enough. Do you remember the first glass of wine you ever had I'm assuming as a child?
No, I don't remember because it seems that I always drank wines, you know, in my life. So probably when I was not a baby, but maybe at, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years old, probably I started to drink a little bit of wine, so I don't remember.
It's like learning to swim when you're a child.
Yes,
Your parent just threw you in the swimming pool.
When you walk, it's the same. It's part of my life, my
Those
education.
lucky French. I don't know. All right. And then I wanted to also ask you, because, I mean, Inglenook, Château Margaux, these are extremely important estates in the entire world. What character trait do you think you possess that has been helpful in getting you to where you are?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, you know, because it's opportunities, you know, just you meet people at the right time, and then it can work like that. So I don't know. I think, to be able to listen. I think is very important, and to be able to be part of a team is maybe a link, of course, to the first quality, of course. But to me, when you, especially in winemaking, I think you don't know. It's a very young science. So again, we have so many things we don't know. So we need to create a team with many skillful people just to go in the right direction. And I think it's not about my person, you know, it's really about the team I am able to build. And I think this is very important, especially in an estate. Of course, it's the case at Château Margaux for so many years, and we have to maintain that. But my feeling is that Inglenook, when I came, is okay, we have to start to do that. I felt that maybe Inglenook has lost that. Maybe it was the case before, but for Inglenook, I think we needed to create a team, to create a culture that will persist and that we will continue to go in the same direction and to create an identity, a strong identity. You know, it's also a problem for Napa, I think. I think I'm not sure that Napa has found his identity. I think you have so many people going in different directions. So I think with time, of course, the valley will collectively will decide what is the style and the identity of the wine of Napa. but at the moment, I think it's not done. And so for myself, I think at the scale of the company, I think building the team for Inglenook is very important, and hopefully I had these qualities to do it.
Mm. Well, thank you, Philippe. And
you're welcome.
Our full interview with Philippe Bascaules is in People to Know on the winespeed.com site. Really, you should read this. It's incredible.